How do you move closer to God? Psalm 84, the psalmist talks about it as a deep longing and yearning, and he even uses language that's yearning, romantic yearning for your loved one, for your spouse, for somebody your heart is connected to. St. Augustine said, our hearts are restless till they rest in thee. And so the psalmist talks about a journey toward God. How do you move closer to God? And we're going to look this morning, we'll explore it more in the message, but on Sunday, but we're going to talk about how you travel, the journey toward God. And he said, in my heart, the highway to Zion is in my heart. The psalmist is speaking of a way of saying we have this desire to make this journey and to draw closer to God. The journey toward God. Jan and I are in our car and we're going to the mountains. This Psalm 84 is called a psalm for the pilgrims, and they would make pilgrimage 3 times a year for the holy festivals at Jerusalem. And this is a psalm that was written either by one of them or for them to honor those journeys they would make. And faith is a journey. Faith is a constant moving toward God. And I love that metaphor. I don't like being still. I like moving and progressing and growing and developing. And there's several truths here. I think there's 5 truths in this psalm for how growing toward God is like a journey. Truth number 1, Jan's filming this in the car. It's better when you do it with somebody you like, with people you like. A journey by yourself it's not the same. I don't know that I'd want to go to the mountains or make this trip. I don't know that I ever have by myself. It enriches it when you go with someone. And truth number 2 is that the trip is easier. She'll take a shift. We break it up over 2 days, but she'll take a shift. There's a certain section of the big highway in North Carolina where she'll drive. I'll have to get a little 2-hour break. And then while she's driving, I'll usually do a little research to where we're going to stay or where we're going to eat. I've got a coupon book. I don't have it in my hand, but I got a coupon book that I found at one of the gas stations, and it tells you all these cheap hotels to stay at. I'll read all those rates to her while we're driving toward it. She never stay there. But again, the idea is you're helping each other. Now, truth number 3. Honey pointed up there so they can see we're in a snag. We're in a delay. And what's worse than that? We had to get off the highway to get some gas. We're now headed south. We're supposed to be headed north, but we stopped to get gas, and we inadvertently got on the wrong entrance ramp, and now we're headed south, and we knew as soon as we do it we were going to hit this because we saw it coming north. We saw this snag. There's a truck off the road up here. So the journey, truth number 3 is the journey can have some setbacks and have some problems and get frustrated, and you get on some delays, and you get on some detours. You go the wrong way occasionally. The faith journey, I wish I could say it's always just straight sailing, smooth sailing, never have any snags, but it's not. The psalmist talks about the valley of Baca, B-A-C-A. And it was a valley that they knew was, for some of those who came from the east, I believe, they had to pass through it to get to Jerusalem. And it was a very dry and arid place. And so they say as they passed through it, the psalmist would say, we dig cisterns and hope that the early rain will fill the cisterns to sustain us in it. Baca is also the root word for a balsam tree. And when you cut a balsam tree, it grows in very, very dry climates. But when you cut it, it weeps. It lets out water that's storing up. And so it's called the weeping tree. And the valley of Baca is also called the valley of weeping. And the bottom line is, on the journey of faith, there's just going to be times that are difficult, in times that are filled with weeping. And it's wonderful when you get to those times, you dig a well, so that you can collect some of God's goodness there. You dig a well, you dig a cistern by prayer, by worship, by scripture reading, by just reflecting on all that God has done for me. This too is going to pass. This too is going to pass. When I'm sitting here creeping along at 8 miles an hour, you think the world's never going to move on from this. But you dig a well. It's one of the great truths. You dig that well when you're in the valley of weeping. And then the fourth truth is that the valley is always trips. You know, you keep moving through that valley because there has to be progress. You don't stop in the valley. You keep moving. But that's what a trip is. There's always progress. I love that idea that faith is not about arriving. Oh, I found Jesus. Hey, this is it. No, you're always growing. You're learning more. Job talks about how the righteous person, they grow stronger and stronger. You don't arrive and get there. It says in one of the other Old Testament letters and Proverbs, it talks about the way of the righteous is like the dawn. It just gets brighter and brighter and brighter. So you're always growing. And I love that idea that faith is not about arriving. It's about continuing to progress and journey and learn more and see more about God and experience new things. And I like the fact that some commentators say that when Jesus said in my Father, John 14, in my Father's house are many mansions, the word is actually monai, and it means stages. They found it in contemporary literature of biblical day, a man who wrote a guidebook for the Mediterranean. He talked about various monai, stages of a trip that you would take. And in heaven it says there's monai, the journey continues in heaven. I love that idea, that concept. You continue to grow. It's not retire, park it, you're done. No, I can experience new things, grow, develop, grow ever closer to God. So wonderful truths that you learn on a journey about the journey of faith. Truth number 5, there's always delightful stops along the way. This is the Microtel Inn. This is where I like to stay. It's $65 a night. But now that we're having the pandemic, Jan won't stay here. There's a little too many truckers and utility workers. $65 a night. But we stay overnight at each trip, break the trip up, rest up, refresh, ready to go. Me and the truckers and the utility workers, we're ready to go at 6 o'clock in the morning when we have our breakfast. Is included in that $65 a night. But those little pauses, they refresh you along the way. Worship is one of those times when we pause, we get refreshed. Now, we're going to leave here. We're just filming here. We're going to go up one more stop and go to the Hampton Inn. And I can tell you right now, just from the sound of the place, it's going to have a price that's either 3 numbers in it, close to 3 numbers, or a little over 3 numbers. It breaks my heart. But again, when you worship, it'll be delightful, it'll be pleasant. You'll only stay at those places now during the pandemic. But sometimes worship can be a little fancier. That's nice. Sometimes it's not so fancy. When we worship at Quest at St. Paul's, I enjoy that immensely. We have a wonderful band, professional musicians, praise leaders. But up in the mountains, I'll go to Ashley Chapel. It's right across the street. There'll just be a few of us, and the message for the first few times I went, the message was just delivered by members of the church. One was a school teacher, one was executive of a company, I believe. Great message. They didn't even have musicians. They just sang a cappella out of these old mountain hymnals. Touched me, and each one would take a turn singing a solo. Touched me deeply. Old mountain music I hadn't heard for 65 years. So those stops that refresh and replenish, they don't always have to be the most expensive and the most elaborate. They can renew you and refresh you. Help me encourage Jan to think Microtel 65 going forward.
Got a mama every day.